What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Auto Dealer Live. Thanks for tuning in with us. The show is going to start real soon. Just wanted to go over with you a little bit about what's going to be happening today. It's a really cool show today, so it's a good one to tune in for. We actually have, along with David Villa and Brett Oob, another special guest host. We've got Glenn Lundy in the house right here. You'll see him in just a second, so that's awesome. Plus, we've still got an all-star panel. We've got Alex Flores, who is GM at Capital Chevy. We've got Bill Velleman, no stranger to the show, GM at Campbell CDJR, and then we've got a new friend of the show, a really incredible operator over out of Vero Beach, Florida, Jared Saunders, GM and operator owner of Toyota Kia of Vero Beach. So it's going to be a good one today. Don't miss it. Stay tuned. It's starting in just a few. Don't go anywhere. This is Auto Dealer Live.
One.
All right. We're here, 3:30 Eastern time. You should have seen it right before we went live. One of the guys was handing Glenn his earphones, our earphones for Glenn, and he didn't know where to plug them in because he'd never been in here before.
Hey, well, you know.
You did.
It's
all right, man.
Yeah, I like to make an entrance, so this works out really good for me.
What's up, brother?
How are you today, buddy?
I'm good, man. I'm good. We, we just did a quick studio refresh and reset, and
Looks great in here.
it looks good. I'm talking in the last like 30, 40 minutes, switching around.
No,
from
I thought you meant the other refresh because you got the control boards and everything behind us now. It looks nice.
Yeah. Oh, that was done and then undone today. And what's up, Mr. Lundy? How are you, sir?
Dude, stoked to be here, man. This is awesome. Love it. Move the mic. Look, you would think I've never done this before, ever. But man, it's awesome being down in Tampa. Thanks for inviting me into the studio. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for coming, man.
Glad you joined us.
If we listen, we're in trouble if we can't carry an hour today, right? I mean, we're just in trouble if we can't.
We got plenty of talent with the lineup coming in. Having Lundy in the studio with us, it's going to be action-packed and probably one for the ages.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. So, you know what, man? What a great last couple of weeks. I mean, looking at the panels that we've had on, the dealers that we've had on, and the subjects that we've tackled, it's just been really incredible. I mean, Glenn, I know that obviously you're doing a show every single day, but Brett and I have had some of the best dealers in the nation, give or take, over the last 4 weeks.
Yes.
This is the 5th show.
Right about 4 weeks now since it's been official.
That's crazy, man.
This is our month anniversary day.
Month anniversary, man.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Brett and I have been working together since 2014, I think.
Yeah, it's been about 6-7 years.
And but last week was a great show. We actually, I think Scott Simons, he was on.
Yeah, so you had Scott Simons and, yeah, that's right, Amanda Gordon.
And then what was your buddy at the Classic store?
We had Anthony Toops from Beaumont, Texas, man.
And so just to hear those guys, step up to the plate and deliver some actionable takeaways. It was in my opinion some of the best content. It is one of these things where you gotta, and you do this in your podcast. I mean, the purpose of this show shifted a while back. We shifted it to more of an education show which sometimes doesn't get the recognition it really needs. But I'm going to tell you something. It's like getting a PhD, right, in automotive.
No doubt.
I mean, because you're listening to people who are doing it day in and day out, and the reality is, to get them to leave their store to come somewhere and train that somewhere is virtually impossible to do. But yet we're getting them to come into our virtual studio and give of their time. But I mean, it's really a PhD in automotive. I mean, I feel like I could probably own a dealership and run one after interviewing as many people as I have.
And the thing to add to it is these topics are coming from the audience, because we've kind of shifted to where, and you'll see it today, Glenn, is that what we've shifted to is at the very end of every show, we're asking the dealers what topics would they like us to cover. And so the one we're doing today is a topic that came off of last week's show or the week before. And we've developed questions around that, and that's what we're kind of doing, and we're going to continue to do that as we bring people on and bring new thought leaders and see what's important into their world. We're going to bring them content that they want rather than stuff that we think about and think that might be relevant, and then it's really not, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's super strong. You know, the best leaders, like the biggest difference between a manager and a leader is that word listen. Man, we got to listen. Like, what is we can have ideas all day long, right? You, me, all of us, we can just have ideas of what we think people need. But in reality, we're not in the trenches. We're not the ones that are actually fighting the fight on the floor, you know, day in and day out. And so being able to listen to your audience, just like listening to your customer, listening to your spouse, listening to your kids, you know, listening is a valuable trait. And especially in the world today, a lot of people are doing a lot of talking and not enough listening. So I love that you guys are doing that.
But, you know, my experience too is when you go into, you know, a lot of people, and we get this, like Brett said, we get these questions and the topics really from our guest and our audience. And last week, this is just one of the comments that we built the show off of last week, or one of the suggestions. There were 3 that you could build entire shows on. And but here's the thing that I've learned over the years, that, and especially with automotive, a lot of times you don't hear a dealer through a comment. Like, say someone's listening right now, they're not necessarily going to comment and say, hey, I'm listening, I'd love to hear about this. But, you know, it's like that first person that in the class that, you know, when you're a kid that asked a question, or the one who breaks it open at the end of a session, and then the snowball, the avalanche. Next thing you know, one person broke the ice, and then someone else says, okay, now my question doesn't seem so dumb. You know, I'm going to ask a question here. And it's one, typically there's a leader, and, you know, that's going to step up and say, this is something I'd like to see or hear. And so the reality is it's not really what we want to talk about. It's what your audience is, their pain points. And the topic today, man, I'm going to tell you, you know, Jared Saunders is joining us. You know, he's an operator of 2 very successful stores. They're shooting for 500 at their Toyota store this coming up month in August. And so they're, you know, big stores over there. But one of the things he said, I mean, this is how busy the guy is. And he's not trying to build a social media brand for himself or anything like that. He's running stores. And, you know, he said, I've never Skyped, but I will for you. I mean, you know, this guy's going to take his time right now, and he's going to share, you know, what he's doing that's moving the needle. And that's really what matters.
That's awesome. Well, the other thing I was thinking about when you were talking is that when we're taking the topics out of the studio audience from a weekly basis, is if anything's changing or anything has morphed where it's become an issue, we're able to address that immediately. Does that make sense? And so I think this topic that we have today is one of those things that's probably because of the current situation where, quote unquote, COVID crisis, shuttering of some of the stores nationwide is, you know, our topic is analytics of the internet. And I think that's become, to a lot of dealers that were on Main and very high traffic areas, not that they didn't focus on it, but it wasn't a main topic, whereas today all of a sudden it becomes, hey, I need to figure that component out, if that makes sense.
Yeah, a lot of times, you know, when things are a little easier, we're just kind of looking at results. You know, how many cars are we selling, what's coming through the door. And at a time like this, man, everybody got punched in the mouth. So now's the time to really be looking at the top of the funnel. You know, what is coming in, where's it coming from, how do we measure those things, and how do we make sure that they flow in a way that's going to get us to, you know, where we're trying to go.
Yeah, something that just came to my mind, you know, because I know it affected us, and it shifted. It affected us in a positive way, but it affected us and caused us to shift. But it made me recognize how many people are online. So we're talking internet strategies today, which came from, you know, the gentleman in Beaumont.
Yes.
He said, I'd like to really find out what dealers are doing to really attack this. And he didn't just mean now, he meant in general. But how about now? What if you fumble the ball on the internet, you know, now? What if you do that now, you know, more than ever? It's always been an issue. But a lot of times, you know, I've asked myself this question, I'm sure you all have, but I've asked as a marketer, I've said, why is it so difficult for automotive dealerships to make changes that maybe, some thought leaders in the automotive industry say we should make? And I've always come to the conclusion that we're making so much money in this industry that it's a form of procrastination due to success.
No doubt.
That just keeps me from, upsetting the apple cart. Well, when you have something like this come in, if it doesn't give you an option. So I guess my thought is, if you fumble the ball now in the internet, I mean, you've really exposed, this thing has really exposed a weakness possibly in many dealerships, or a strength, and I think it's a more relevant topic than ever today. And good news is it's not too late.
No,
I don't think
it's not too late until it's over. But I mean, to key off of what you said though is I don't think it's just the auto industry. I think it's every industry. I think you get comfortable, even in your personal life. You get comfortable with what you do every day. And then all of a sudden the ball moves. But the ball didn't move overnight. The ball moved gradually. And then it got so far away that all of a sudden you were exposed. And that's what you're talking about with this piece that we're talking about, the analytics of the internet, is that it's been moving since 1995. And then all of a sudden you had a situation to where people were locked in their homes, and they were scared to come out, and they were scared to walk in the store, and they were scared to go out in public. And then all of a sudden this was a crisis, but it was a crisis a long time ago. It was just revealed in this last situation.
Yeah, no doubt. And what David just touched on, actually both of you guys just touched on, is this word comfort, right? I train on this all the time. We're most comfortable in life right before death, right? As soon as you settle into that comfort, and you see it in business, you see it in sports, you see it in relationships, you see it across the board. And ultimately for decades on decades, there's a lot of dealerships out there that were comfortable, right? Just kind of following the model. Let's try to make $1 million a year. Let's sell 100 cars a month. Let's quietly do what we got to do here in our local backyard. Everybody was really comfortable. And dude, man, knockout blows.
Comfortable is not the place to be.
But the journey to success is what? It's uphill. It's uphill all the way. You can never, ever, ever stop going uphill. If you stop going uphill, then when you get hit, you're going to go rolling down.
Rolling on down, that's it.
Nice. Well, we're going to go to a quick commercial break, and our guest, I'm getting text from the producer here telling us what's going on. So we'll go to a quick commercial. We're going to be back with our guest. Don't go anywhere. We have a great panel. Of course, we're joined by the great Glenn Lundy, and Brett and I have got a really good panel lineup for you today, some good questions. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
And we're glad to have Glenn with us.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Brett.
I almost called you Glendy.
Glenn,
cool
that's
with
a cool. There you go. That's your
I've
nickname.
tied it all together.
Just tie them
man.
all together. baby.
Just mash it in.
Are you a millennial?
Right on the edge.
All right. Thank you, guys. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back.
Hey, this is David Villa, the CEO here at IPD Agency. So dealers, look, I'm sitting outside of my office. I'm in my sales room. I'm going to ask our cameraman in a second to pan around, because I want to show you our BDC and give you a little glimpse of who's going to do the heavy lifting if you decide to partner with us on this program. What is this program? Our program over Facebook is a solution. In 25 years of doing automotive marketing, working with just thousands of dealerships, we've seen some very impressive results. I've never seen an ROI like this over the last couple of months especially, and we're doing it from coast to coast. We're killing it in California, we're killing it in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Michigan, states that are right now really clamped down and have some limitations, and of course we're doing it all over states ranging from Florida to the Midwest states. And I'm going to show you a little bit. As I'm sitting here, you're going to see a few leads just begin to pop up. And look, watch here, like this is an example of leads that are popping in as we speak. This is for Randall Reed's Park Cities Ford. Again, I'm not really sure how fast the leads are going to come in. There's another one at Walters Toyota in Kentucky. There's Campbell, sent a message, Ford of West Memphis. There's Mr. Gonzalez, Leo Cates, Ford. They're actually in New York right now. This is their second time doing it. Premier Chevy, they're in California. These are happening as we speak. Another one, Joanne, Randall Reed's Park City Ford in Dallas, Texas. I think 3 would be best. Joanne, we happen to agree with you. 3 o'clock's perfect. And these are leads that are going into our BDC. Look, if you're looking for a way to move the needle in a
in a digital way, but it's more of a traditional digital, meaning if you like direct mail or if you like things that have an ROI that you can track, this is perfect because we're actually seeing the responses coming in. We do all the heavy lifting. I'm gonna spin around here, Ez, and let's see if we can actually catch. This is the BDC right here. Look, if you just notice here, we're in a 13,000 square foot office, and we're gonna help you partner and sell vehicles in an unprecedented way. We can start pretty quick as long as we have a slot available, because when it gets full in a week, we just move to the next week. So we are setting up accounts for June. It's a 7-day campaign, and dial the number on the screen, and one of these guys right here will help you.
All right, we're back, and we got a little bit of a. This is the car business, man.
That's
Jared,
right.
Jared had to jump off. He was live. He had to jump off. I think he had to take a TO. It's just the way things are. Bill texted me and said, "I'll be back in a minute. I got a fire to put out." It's just the car business. Alex has logged on though, so we have. And I'm going to get this straight, man. One of the top Chevy stores, and he's going to correct me because I know that he cares about this. One of the top Chevy stores I know in the state of Texas, if not the top. And you know what? I think we could pick his brain, and he could fill a notepad up for anyone watching right now. But we have the great Alex Flores, GM of Capital Chevy in Austin, Texas, with us. And Alex, thank you so much for joining us, man. How you doing?
Doing great. Glad to be here, and honored to be with you guys. And I've been following you guys and listening to you all for a long time, and I'm just, happy to be here.
Well, I'm joined by Glenn Lundy, and of course, Brett, who Brett owns 4 or 5.
4 right now. We're about to have 5.
About to have 5. Come on now, when you're about to have 5, you already know it. And Alex, man, I love that suit. You look sharp today, as always.
You look good, buddy.
Thank you.
Brett, why don't you start it off?
Well, Alex, last week we had a dealer that was a fellow Texan, by the way, that asked if we would cover analytics of the internet. And so I know you guys are in Austin. You probably were one of the early adopters, because I think Austin was one of those places that was wired early. And so we want to talk a little bit about that. And first, as it relates to the internet, what statistics do you look at to measure what works and what doesn't?
Well, I had a discussion with somebody about this recently, and me personally, I want to see as far as individuals, how many leads is every salesperson getting versus how many appointments are making, contacts. But you also want to look at the ROI as far as like how much you're spending per lead versus how much are you getting back per each lead provider that you're using. So that's some of the things we look at for sure, just to make sure that it's making sense to us and we're getting the most out of it.
Let me ask you this, Alex. I mean, obviously you can't. What's the phrase? You can't manage what you don't measure, or you can't. And so you're measuring.
You can't measure it. You can't manage it.
You can't expect what you don't inspect.
Come on. So that's what you're doing, and that's leadership. And so let me ask you this, though. I mean, we were talking just prior to the break, bringing you guys on. We were talking about how important even now the internet is, but. Looking at a dealership, I mean, you're in a competitive market. I know, you got a Hyundai store there that's typically in the top 10 in the nation as well. So Austin's a good car market in general. So you have this competitive market where a customer is shopping, and we have nets out there. I mean, let's just call it what it is. It's really a net or a trigger that's going to tell you that they're out there shopping. But the reality is, if we don't have those nets, it might even be that a customer never tells us that they're out there shopping. They're just doing their thing. So how important is it, even on the bigger picture, to find the right triggers, so to speak, that are going to notify us and let us know what customers are out there, what they're looking at, and how we can connect with them. And how important is that aspect of it, Alex?
I mean, it's everything, man, because it's all about engagement, and especially in the internet world. I mean, I came from a Toyota store that we're doing 1,000 cars a month. I was with actually Chris Martinez before this. And I came to Capital Chevrolet in 2016. And since we've taken over, we've gone from 200 cars to 800 cars a month. And I've been blessed by, getting my own dealership now. And I'm the dealer principal of Seguin Chevrolet. And we follow the same basically protocol, the same process. And I actually brought my old internet manager from the Toyota store to be the Seguin guy, and we've gone from 50 cars to 250, 300 cars. So it's everything. To answer your question, I think engagement, The way we interact with clients and with customers and leads is everything. I mean, I believe that the internet, as you all know, has changed completely from when I started the car business in 1996. So it's all about, giving people overly information, videos, text, sending them different options. If they ask about a specific vehicle, do you give them another vehicle? And I'm not trying to pitch anybody today, but we recently did switch to DriveCentric. And the reason why is because the engagement is huge with them. And I thought about it for a long time because I was happy with the CRM that we had before. But we made the switch, and it really helps my managers and myself being able to see every single conversation, every single engagement, and I'm able to go in there and tag somebody if they're dropping the ball. So it's been real helpful for us, and I think it's definitely helped us.
Alex, I'm going to call you after the show because we just put one store on that, and we're piloting it to see what it does because the GM there wanted to try that.
Dude,
we definitely are happy with it. It makes a big difference. I just think it's, to your point, Dave, I mean, it really helps you hold people accountable. And that's my thing, man. I also have AF Consulting, and one of the things I teach dealers is, or help them actually, not teach them, but just remind them of the importance of accountability. Me being a military guy, I'm all about that, discipline, accountability. And really that's all it takes to not all, but it's a big part. And I know Glenn believes in this too, that it's all about accountability. It's about, if I always tell my managers, the devil is in the detail. And if you have somebody constantly watching those leads, as soon as they come in, I mean, I'm the guy that's looking at responses, and I want to know, how did you respond to the lead? And what did you send to the customer? And what was the response from the customer? And did you tell them we don't have it in stock, which is a big no-no? Or did you give them options? Did you try to set the appointment, or did you try to just give them all the information over the phone? Or at least set something up so where you can have more engaged. The thing is just keeping the customer engaged so that you can, close the deal.
Let me go to you, Glenn. Can I initiate you as really a guest as well, like as a guest, a dealer guest? I mean, so I'm hearing Alex, and I'm seeing a lot of similarities where you went into a store that was successful. Again, 200 and some odd to 800. You see this store, Dan Cummings. Obviously, you were part of this team that took it to the pinnacle of where it is. What do you think when you hear these comments that Alex is making, and maybe even look at the same here? How do you measure this? What do you see in this question that maybe you can bring out some insight for some dealers that are listening?
Well, Alex is, he's phenomenal. And by the way, you look amazing today, Alex. Look at you, man. The hair looks good, looking sharp. I love that, man. Dressed to impress. But no, accountability is everything. It literally is everything. And daily accountability is even more important. So a lot of people are like, yeah, we're consistent, right? We consistently check that. We might listen to some calls 3 times a week or so on and so forth. But what Alex said there is daily. Every single day. There's a big difference between consistently and daily, right? I can consistently go to the gym 3 days a week, or I can go daily. What kind of result difference do you get versus going to the gym 3 days a week versus doing it every single day? And I think that was a big separator, for us over at Dan Cummins. Is I was monitoring, the owner was monitoring, not micromanaging. Please don't get this twisted. We weren't micromanaging, breathing over people's shoulders. We're just monitoring, ultimately looking for results. And we kind of talked about it a little bit, towards the beginning. A lot of people can get caught up with just the top end of it. How many leads am I generating, right? How many customers are going in the pipeline? How many people are touching our website? All important numbers. We have to inspect what we expect 1,000,000%, but ultimately you have to follow that path all the way through, man. Like, who are they buying cars or not? And I think another part of the reason the auto industry was kind of slow to move on that is there were a lot of vendors that had come out in this internet digital world, and they were sharing numbers that we didn't really understand. Like, are they buying cars or not? Because I see lots of leads, but I'm not seeing any results over on the other side, and not really understanding that path. And so I think having a full understanding, taking the time that it takes to really follow all the way through what's working, what's getting me a net result, where are the hiccups along the way, and maybe the hiccup might be your staff, your personnel, your inventory, the pictures that are online, a button that's not working. You know what I mean? These are things that we have to look at daily, every single day, if we want to get those massive results.
That's good. That's good stuff. I mean, I'm hearing the deal is too is you used to sell advertising, you know,
I did.
back in the day, and I'm thinking of the fact that hey, thank God, by the way, dealers that are watching, thank God they buy advertising and they want to keep buying it. But the reality is sometimes we spin, and we don't measure, we don't, you know, and we think, okay, I need another shot in the arm. But the reality is, and you know, I know we're talking internet, but it always comes back to training to me. It always comes back to, you know, what we're doing with our people and because that's really what it comes down to. What's the ROI? You know, how much are we leaving on the table?
Right.
And that's you know, that's what I always think of.
Well, when we came up with this topic, I thought we were going to go down the analytics of the internet, and it's turned into really measurement. No, it's a good thing though.
Right.
I mean, this goes back to what we said in the pre-show talk about, you know, dealers bring to the forefront right now is I think internet's kind of an expected thing because really everything is internet driven. I mean, you know, Alex said a while ago about the internet's changed since he got in the business in '96. In '96, they were creating their own departments, and it was a separate deal, and that was an internet customer, and this was a primary customer. And most people are finding dealerships now from this phone, right? And so that's the major piece now. But what we're talking about instead is we're talking about measuring the things that we're doing to make sure they're working. And Glenn brought up, you know, he said you have vendors come in and they say this is going to work and that's going to work and this is going to work. But at the end of the day, your responsibility is to see if it's a program that's going to work for you. And then your secondary responsibility is the vendor can't come in and close your business. A vendor can send opportunities,
Right.
right? And you have to have your processes in such a way where y'all heard Alex say it's a big no-no to tell somebody we don't have the car. Well, what he didn't say is he's not saying that to try to mislead them. What he's trying to say is that that's the car you're interested in, or would you consider, and then offering them options, because a lot of people just look and say, I wonder about that car, and you say, would you consider a car? Would you consider a truck? Would you consider an SUV? Would you consider bigger or smaller than you're driving now? And you start putting them into the process and giving them other opportunities and options, if that makes any sense. And that's all part of perfecting that process, because I guarantee you, if we dug into Alex, he didn't go from 2 to 800 strictly by advertising alone. He improved the process, and he got more of the people that were currently touching that store to come by, that were considering them first and then shopping somewhere else and somebody else shutting them down.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's go to you, Alex. Alex, what you've been listening? What do you think, man? Let's give
Well,
you
man, I just want to tell you that I'm excited now because when Colby first told me about this interview, he kind of told me what it was going to be about. And I said, man, I'm not a nerd. I'm a car guy. So Colby,
I'm with you, Alex.
Hey,
Colby,
I'm
you
on
didn't
your
do
side,
the
baby.
interview, not me, but now I see I'm talking to 3 car guys. And my point is this, guys, and you guys know this, and I know anybody listening or watching knows this, that yes, I did say that the internet has changed since 1996, but in reality, it hasn't, because people still want to go through the process. People still want you to show them the service department, come in and do I call it a walk around, WOW, to make sure that you go around the car, you show them the features. Yeah, they can see them online and they can do all these things. But there's that interaction, that engagement, that personal relationship that you build when your customer gets there. You have the vehicle pulled up. It's a VIP experience. I mean, all those things in the internet world make a huge difference. You know, on top of all the things we talked about, which is accountability and, of course, training. I think training is huge. You know, and the internet guys, before the pandemic, I used to do training twice a week for an hour and 20 minutes, mandatory. Everybody had to go. And believe it or not, the ones that always fought it and didn't want to go to the training were the guys in the internet. But I made them do it anyway. I said, I'll tell you what, I get it. You got to answer leads, but you got to come at least once a week. So either pick Monday or Friday, but you got to come once a week. And let me show you, let me remind you, of the process. Let me remind you of pushing a customer to a worksheet, of coaching an offer, of knowing how to properly handle a phone up, handle a lead, how to give customer the information that they want, how to ease concerns and earn the trust that the customers want. At the end of the day, guys, you guys know this, sales is sales, and it's all about how you treat people. It's all about how you interact with people. And if you know how to do it and you have the skills and you know how to do it, the ability and the knowledge, it's easy. And that's why we make it look easy, but it's really not easy. It's just we know how to do it.
You're operating in your talent zones, what you're saying. But I mean, you know, something that Alex is talking about is that the internet today is more confusing than ever. I mean, when the internet first came out, there was very little information out there, and so if you found a site to go get information, that was the only site that had information. Now, I mean, if you don't believe me, go look for a house, right? You go to one of these house sites, and there's 75 different houses that you can look at. And how do you find it is you call your realtor, you go see it, and then you go, oh, they made the pictures look good, and then they start taking you down to the road to the sale and try to investigate driving needs and figure out what you're doing. So what Alex is saying is you got to be better at your sales game now than you've ever had to be.
Never have been.
No doubt.
And the dealers that are succeeding are doing that. They're training their people. They're using outside sources like Auto Dealer University and things along those lines, because what they're recognizing is that people are more confused than ever, and they need more service, and service comes from a quality salesperson that can investigate their driving needs and take them down the road to the sale.
I was listening. I mean, ask you, Glenn, and I know you got a lot to say here, but I was listening to Alex, and what I got too out of that is, as a salesperson, it always seems to come back to this, and I'm okay with that. You know, I mean, the basics. I mean, no matter how sophisticated things get, it comes down to I'm sitting there playing in my head. I'm thinking of my experiences when he said, I call my internet team, and I think of my own team and my own people and people I've trained. And when somebody doesn't feel like they want to, quote, get off the phone to train, you know, to be reminded about something they already know. But every time I've ever slacked off or had my sales slack off in my career, it's because I left the fundamental basics. Mm-hmm. It's not because I didn't read the latest and greatest. It was typically because I started to get off of some of the things that work. And, you know, we just take shortcuts, you know. What do you think about that?
No doubt, man. No doubt.
I mean,
and it goes back to that word daily, right? So at Dan Cummins, we had sales meetings every single day, Monday through Saturday. We met 8:30. We had a meeting. There's a process that we follow that made it fun and entertaining and engaging and a value add. But really, the purpose of that is people do forget. Right? We forget a lot of the basic stuff as we get piled up, as things start to continue to add up in our careers, or we lose some motivation, we lose some inspiration, we lose some drive. And so those things come by it's all about daily habits and routines, and that stuff compounds over time, right? There's a book, Compound Effect, Darren Hardy, and he talks about that, how even just something as simple as leaving the cheese off of your burger over time will have an effect on your overall, on your overall health and success. And it's the same way in the dealerships. We have to continue and involve everyone. I like how Alex talked about the internet team. So my sales team included the internet team. They were there every single morning doing the training, learning the things, feeling like they're a part of the team. But one other thing I wanted to note on this, kind of on the whole thing is, dude, dealers have we got to take our egos and just throw those things like out the window. I think part of the reason we're slow moving, part of the reason a lot of people don't necessarily have an internet plan or don't know how to figure one out is we got this ego thing going, right? So we'll go, okay, this is what we're doing. This is how we're going to try it. We're going to see if it works. We're going to put it in place. Everybody on board, ready, set, go. And then we'll stick with it for like 4 years. Even if it's not working, right? Because we're like, well, we said this is the jam, and egos really get in the way. I think it's important for people to understand that it's okay to try things, measure them, figure out if it works. If it doesn't work,
stop it.
Turn it off.
Yeah.
Go do something else until you find the right formula. Don't just sit there and let it, wither you to dust.
People view that, Alex, as failure. I think sometimes, and they can't think that possibly there's a good idea. There's a book that I read by Jensen Franklin. It's a pastor. It's a right people, right plan, right time. And it's there. There's been times where you've had the right plan and the right people, but it's been the wrong time. There's been times when you had the right time, the right plan, the wrong people. And so the reality is those three things have to come together a lot of times. And so Alex, I think sometimes it's hard for us to kill the sacred cow or to lay something aside. Like Glenn's talking about, and let's call it our ego based. But the reality is, how many times have you had to shift things up in order to move forward and progress? I mean, can you count how many times, Alex?
Not really, man. And I think Glenn's right. I just sold a Camaro ZL1 1LE that had 960 horsepower, and we did cam, headers, pulley, all these things, and it seemed like we were always trying to tweak it. Even though it was this powerful, amazing car, we were constantly looking at ways to make it even better. And maybe something that, like you said, Glenn, that we did to the vehicle, maybe it's making it slower, maybe it's making it stall, maybe it's hard to start in the morning. So, the process that I've developed, and I have it actually, we have a process card. And, I was listening to you, and honestly, I always tell my people this: if you work for Alex Flores, you have to do everything. Everyone has to do everything, every time, every day. Mm-hmm. And that's it, man, because that's the way it is. Chick-fil-A, you don't go through Chick-fil-A and one day they forget to put lettuce in your chicken sandwich. It's going to have lettuce every time, unless you say, hey, I don't want lettuce. Mm-hmm. So you have to have a process. You have to follow it. And that has to be that discipline from everyone, and the people being bought in to see that the process is working for the team. And I think it's just to answer your question, David, yes, we've changed it, but we keep perfecting it and getting better and better. But once we decide it's working, we're going to stick to it. And to me, is I always tell people, I can teach anybody how to sell cars. I don't care who it is. I've got people. There's a guy that, I don't know if he's watching or not right now, but he used to make my smoothies at this fancy gym, and now he's a finance director at a Porsche dealership here in Austin, making $300,000+ a year. Because you can teach anybody with a good process. You can make anybody successful. That's what it's all about. That's the managers, internet managers. They just don't want to train. They don't want to take the time. They're not sitting down investing in their people. Instead, they're looking for that the secret sauce, or that golden nugget, or whatever they call it, that is going to make them successful without any effort. And all of you guys know that the only place you're going to find success before work is a dictionary. That's it. You're not going to find it anywhere else. You have to put in the work. You have to put the process, and that's how you're going to win.
Amen.
Hey, Alex, let me. I'm sure Dave will be all right if I take a little different direction in what we're talking about, because we kind of did with this show. But let me ask you a question, because you said that you took over Capital Chevy and you came over from the Toyota store. Drop a little nugget on us and tell us, what was the one thing that you changed that yielded the best result, and why?
The number one thing would be culture. Mm-hmm. Number one is culture. And what I mean by that is the culture of, culture can be broken down in so many things. Because when I think of culture, I think of food and the way somebody dresses. But no, I mean culture of appointments daily. Culture of every single salesperson making 25 calls a day. Culture of you have to turn the deal. Culture of we don't give up on a deal. Culture of, hey, high energy. You come in. We don't complain. We don't, I'm not the easiest guy to work for. I'll be honest with you. Not in a negative way, but if you're lazy and you don't like people calling you out, then you don't want to work for Alex Flores. But if you want to get better and you want somebody to tell you the truth, and of course I do it with grace, then you're going to come to Alex Flores and you're going to get better and become, way better manager than when you came in. But yeah, number one thing, sir, would be definitely the culture. I mean, when I got there, it was, country music, which I love country music. I used to work at a barbecue.
Easy now.
Yeah. No, I love really, really old country music, if music at all. And it was kind of like the managers would just be like, hey, get you a new customer. You don't have a deal. All the things that we've talked about for so many years. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. What do you mean get you a new customer? There is no other customer. Right. You have to love the one you're with.
That's right.
That please leave the lot immediately mentality, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, the mindset.
Yeah, I can't stand
culture, and accountability. So that's the three things that I would say that immediately they make a huge impact from day one. And we went from being number 5 in Austin, the dealership was doing 136 cars a month, to being number 1 in Austin on the first month. And then I told the owner, that she's my partner now, I said, you know what, we're going to be number 1 in Texas. And she's like, oh, Alex, no, we're good. I'm good with number 1 in Austin. I said, no, we're going to be the number 1 dealer in Texas. And we beat the big monster, and we did it. And it's unbelievable, because when I first got to Capital, there was only 8 desks in the showroom floor. That's all they had. Mm-hmm. And there was eight new car salespeople, and there was 8 used car salespeople, 16. And we got to a point before the pandemic where we had almost 100 salespeople.
I'm going to say something too. Keep Alex up there for a second, because I want
please
keep him up there, Mike. I want to I'm going to let them see him. Mike, they're looking at you, Alex, but they're hearing me. But I just want to give this back to you for a second. And I'm going to say this, Glenn and Brett, I've heard this over and over. I love this story that Alex just told because it reminds me of guys like Matt Lasco, guys like you, Glenn, guys like Alex, over and over and over again, where they went into stores that were, where the mindset was fixed and they had a growth mindset. They had, that's the difference. It's not a fixed mindset, it's a growth mindset. And, and the reality is this, you might not want to work for him, but here's the thing we have to understand and get back to a little bit. I don't necessarily want them working for me. You don't,
That's
so
right.
it's the deal is, man, you brought vision in, and you brought a purpose in, and you brought a goal in. And what happens? People want to be challenged, and that's just the reality. Not everybody, but can I tell you this? I mean, a lot. I don't think you're building to hold everybody. So there's just some people that want to join that type of team, right?
Sure.
And so I love that story. I've heard it. It reminded me when you said how many desks and so forth were there. It reminds me of Matt. This is Matt Lasco, his brother Jay, and he took the store over from their dad. Typically, how everybody says about a PhD, right?
Sure.
Papa has a dealership.
But here's the deal. Matt and Jay took it over, and their dad built that store in Fenton, Michigan, 12,000 people in the town with 7 desks to do 70 vehicles a month. That's what it was built for.
Right.
And then 2 years ago, when they moved into their new Ford store, they were doing over 300. And then, of course, they built the bigger store because they took it and they lifted the lid, right? They raised the expectation and said, why? Why do we got to be this?
Well, David, if you listen to, and I know you did, what Alex said is he focused on what was possible, not what they were doing. And he changed the mindset to what is possible versus what we're doing today. And I was teasing you about country music because I like country music, but it doesn't give any energy on the showroom floor.
It doesn't. And
No, it doesn't.
You got a dealership's got to have energy. You got to have energy, and if people aren't moving, if it's not the most exciting thing going on today, you're not going to deliver any cars.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
I don't want to give all my secrets, but once a month,
I'll be there tomorrow.
once a month, I'll have a live band in the showroom floor.
That's awesome.
I have a live band, and everybody's clapping. And again, since pandemic, things have changed a little bit. But I'll even have sometimes, just to change it up a little bit, we'll have a mariachi band. I mean, we do crazy stuff, man. Because in fact, customers will even say it. It's crazy because we do all these things, and I do crazy commercials. I'm on top of a bull. I ride a tank. I do just crazy stuff. I'm just crazy, and I like to be crazy, But customers will tell us, it doesn't even feel like I'm buying a car. It feels like it's fun. It feels like I don't feel pressure. I don't feel all the feelings that I usually have at a dealership. I'm just having a good time, and I'm enjoying this experience. So it makes a big difference, the culture and the energy.
You bring energy because I can feel the energy through the monitor, and I love it.
And
I got very little sleep last night, and it's picked me up 2 notches. So I'm glad that you're on the show today.
Yeah, culture and anything and energy is everything. And I knew he was going to say that right when you asked the question. You're like, "What is the one thing?" I knew he was going to say culture. But with that said, the most frustrating part is so many dealers don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that.
Why
they
do you
want
think that?
they want.
I know you don't know the answer.
They want a light switch. They don't want to build a fire. And really, the auto industry is about building a fire. That's what it is. We got to put the logs in. We got to get all the pieces in place. We got to get the kindling. We got to get some sparks going. We got to breathe into it, right? We got to blow some oxygen in there, get the flames going up. We really have to build something. And they're just looking, just give me the light switch. Just give me what is the one thing that I can quickly, click over and get these results. And Alex is just spot on. When I was over at Dan Cummins, very similar, when I went in, it had the wood panels on the walls. They had lawn table furniture in the middle of the showroom. It was literally these big plastic lawn tables that you would have outside. That's what we were working deals on. I had one guy tell me that he was going to take me outside and hang me by my tie if I didn't stop wearing a tie at Dan Cummins because they were all in Carhartts and sweaters, just a bunch of good old boys having a good old time. And me and that guy are really good friends now. He's awesome. But once you start to shift that mindset and that culture, and then you fight through the hardest part, which is you have a bunch of wet logs that you're trying to get lit, so you have to dry those out first, or pull them out of the fire if necessary, and then get all the then get all the pieces in place. But I used to walk through the showroom and I'd be in the middle of a conversation with General Motors would be there or somebody like that, and I'd be like, oh, wait a minute, that song that's on the radio right now, that's not a good song. It's a negative song, or it's whatever. So we used to rock like K-Love, positive, encouraging music, things like that in the showroom all the time, because all of those key components matter: energy, culture, mindset. Put those three first, and then you can figure out which tools you need to fuel that afterwards.
I think if you listen to what Alex said, he said that I'm going to strap. I mean, if I bet you if I was a fly on the wall when in his first meeting, it was, I'm going to strap this on my back. This is where we're going, and this is what the vision is. You're welcome to come with us, but if you're not part of it, you can get off the bus because we're going anyway.
Yeah, that's exactly right. In fact, I always tell people, because I've done this before 3 times, taking over a store, and I always tell them, I'm not here to see if you like me. I'm here to see if I like you, and not like as a person, not like a person, but just to make sure that you're going to be fine. And what I notice is anybody that's taking over a store that's listening right now needs to know this. It's when you take over a store, because again, I've done it 4 times, actually, not 3 times, and it's always the same thing. You have the ones that are completely out from day one. They say, you know what, I'm done. That's happened to me. I've had a GSM quit on my first meeting. He interrupted me and said, hey, let me stop you right there. I don't want to be a part of this. This is never going to happen. And of course, he was wrong, of course. And then you have the people who say, okay, I'm in, but they're not really in. They're just saying that because they don't want to go anywhere.
Lip service.
And you have the people that are going to say, you know what, I'm in, let's go. And those are the people that you got to make sure you identify who those people are, because those people are going to take you to the next level. And those are the people that you actually want to spend your time and pour yourself into, because they're going to do a lot of big things with you.
I got a question as we wrap up. This will be the last question for, just since we're completely off script, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
We
haven't done this in 4 weeks. We stayed
on it.
I know.
But you know what? Hey, we're off script because Alex.
Welcome to my world. I'm an off script kind of guy.
Me too. But the whole spotlight.
I think Alex morphed this into what it should be. Is that the analytics of an internet is what he said. Is it's really a statistical analysis, and that's a totally different class. If that makes sense.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, I think that it's all spotlights on you. I mean, you got the whole show today, Alex, and we're glad to have that. And I can't think of honestly, this has gone better than it could have gone. So I want to ask you this. What's next? So somebody's hit 800 cars. I mean, you've been there. Someone's hit 800 cars, and you look at it. I mean, there's obviously, as a leader, because I've done that. With raising the bar, and you hit it, and you look at it as a leader, and you go, whew, but then it's back to the grindstone. It's back to, okay, now what? We got to move forward. We can't remain stagnant. So I mean, how do you look at your team and say, hey, great job, we won the Super Bowl, so to speak, but now this is where we're going. So if I can ask you, maybe shout to our audience a little bit and inspire them to what? How do you get to that next level? What's next, and how do you articulate that to a team that's won?
Well, no matter how good you are, and no matter how good you think you are, my team, or I always tell my team this, my managers, if you're looking for the guy who's going to hug you all the time and tell you did a great job, you're working for the wrong guy. Because I'm always going to feel like there's going to be more that we could have done. I mean, as good as this show is making me look, and as good as this show is making it sound like I am and my team is, the reality is, Dave, we still miss deals. We still don't handle phone calls properly. We still, do some things. We don't submit deals all the time. We probably didn't send it to the right bank, and because of that, we lost the deal. There's still managers in my team right now that, did I lose you?
We got you.
Okay, here we go. We still have managers in our team that are still, get complacent. So to answer your question, man, I always say, okay, this is what we did. This is the next level. I mean, our next goal is 1,000 cars. I want to sell 1,000 cars out of a Chevy store. And I know it can be done, and I know it will be done. And right now, I have no inventory. But you know what? Once everything gets back to normal, and I even told my team the other day, we can't use that as an excuse.
That's right.
We can't use the pandemic as an excuse. We can't use all these things, because those are all excuses. You can find a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. You're going to find a way. I'm from Mexico City. I grew up in the streets, man. My story's crazy, man. It really, really is. That a homeless immigrant guy comes to the States, not even speaking English, and now owns a franchise Chevrolet dealership.
Come on.
A beautiful dealership off of a major highway, I-10, that goes into Houston and San Antonio, and owns a dealership. That's insane. But how does that happen? Accountability, mindset, belief system, faith, giving all glory to God. If you just do all those things and you do the right things and you listen to your managers, you follow a process, you put a system in place, man, there's no stopping me.
No stopping you at all.
Boom.
Spot on. Love that you had Alex today. What a better, amazing. And Alex, you're all over it, man. It's never perfect. It can always be tweaked. It can always be a little bit better. And I think, Dave, in reference to your question, you have to make it can't just be about numbers, right? So when something's just about numbers, then yeah, you reach the number and it's like, okay, now what? There's nothing left. So there has to be a culture and an understanding that we reward and are thankful and build on behaviors besides just volume, right? So you've got your top sales guy, right? Every store's got that one top sales guy, and the top sales guy gets salesman of the month every month, and he gets all the awards, he gets all the accolades, he gets the parking space, he gets all of these other things. And the rest of your team, 80% of your team, is sitting here 20 cars less than him, and you wonder why you can't get more out of those 80%. Well, why not? Why won't they all just be like the top guy, right? Can't they all just perform like that? And the reason being is we're focused too much on that number and not necessarily the behaviors. Some of those people in that 80% might get jacked up if you highlight the fact that, man, you're really a great team player. I love how you encourage everybody else. I love how you lift up other people on the team. Now we get more of that. That might lead to more sales. Or you're great at walk-arounds. You're great at product knowledge. When we start to find other areas where we can develop and raise people up besides just a volume number, it changes. So we were on a mission. Our goal was to sell 6,000 cars in 2016, I think it was 2015 or 2016. The goal was 6,000. We sold 6,000th car on December 26th of that day. It was my wife's birthday, so I remember that.
That's my birthday.
And my mom's birthday also. So we sold 6,000 cars for the year on that day, and immediately everybody was like, okay, so what's the number for next year? And I said, in my head I had a number, but I said, we're not doing a number. I'm not going to take this team that just won a championship because we had sold 4,200 cars the year before. Now we sell 6,000. I'm not going to go, okay, you got to go to some big number. So instead, I said, well, here's what we're going to do for the next year. Let's look at our tools. Let's look at our people. Let's look at our processes. Let's make sure everybody's in the right spot. Let's make sure everybody's winning. They're doing well. They're growing and developing. And if we do that, we'll sell more next year. Sure enough, we went from 6,000 to 7,500. Then after 7,500, we went ahead and put another number, right? We're like, all right, we're shooting for 10,000 this year. And we basically, hit that number there. And then we had our 1,000 car month. And so you just got to kind of mix it up. It can't always be just about a number. How can we grow and evolve people in other areas to get top performance?
Hey, Alex, let me ask you a question before we go. Is what topics would you like to see us cover that could add value to you and your people in this industry?
I think I always anything has to do with sales process. How to get more sales. I mean, to me, that's what it's all about. I think every dealer, every GSM, every GM, we want more car deals. We want to. How do you capture more of your market share? I always tell people that when I go to consult their dealerships, I'm like, okay, do you want to just have a presence or do you want to dominate? Because if you want to dominate, then I have a plan for you. And this is how we have to go about it. So how do you dominate your market? Because that's what I want. I want to be the best, honestly, and I'm not going to stop until I am. I know I got a lot of work to do, but yeah.
Well, the one thing I heard you say is when David asked you that question is you're looking for excellence daily. And so
yes.
I think that's the quality of people that are good self-evaluators and people that are successful is that you don't beat yourself up and have a low self-esteem event and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe we did X, Y, and Z. But you go, we did miss. We're not where we need to be, and there are opportunities that we're missing, even though we're hitting some goals that are stretch goals, if that makes sense.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure, Alex.
Yeah, man, been awesome, and we can't wait to celebrate 1,000 cars with you, man. We know it's going to happen. So,
Dude, it's awesome.
I'm going to call you on
Selling
that Drive
1,000
Centric,
cars is
too.
awesome.
Yes. Thank you all very much for your time, and it was a pleasure. And Glenn, I watch your show every day. Thank you for everything you do for everyone. And Dave, we're really excited to have you in our dealers now, and I'm pumped about it. And sir, pleasure to meet you. And maybe one day I can play.
Absolutely, I'd love to.
all right, Alex,
Nice.
thank you so much. Alex
Thanks,
Flores,
Alex.
ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for spending time with us. Well, man, I'll tell you what, we have a couple minutes as
He's
we
awesome.
wrap it up. You know what? I think it just worked out the way it should have. You know,
It
what I mean?
did.
You know, I'm sure Jared closed that deal. He had a TO, and Bill put that fire out. But I mean, we had one burning here, and honestly, we got a chance to pick the brain of somebody who, you know, who's winning. I mean, that's
Right.
just
He's doing it at high level, man.
High level.
You know, I mean, that's the kind of, we talk about it last show. If you want to do something in life, you got to get around people that are bigger, faster, stronger, and better than you are. And not in a negative way,
No.
to learn from, they can add value.
amen.
It's all about that mastermind, right?
That's right.
Getting around those right people.
Anything you want?
As a matter of fact, your network is your net worth is something
That's
we're
right.
going to be doing together next week.
talk about that really quick as we close, if you don't mind, in the last minute or so.
Yeah, sure. So on my daily morning show, hashtag Rise and Grind, Monday through Friday mornings, 5:30 a.m. here on Facebook. And next week we're doing a series called Your Network is Your Net Worth. And I got all my buddies coming on to join us. We're going to do it panel style. There's going to be 4 or 5 of us each day at 5:30 a.m. and just incredible humans like yourself. And Brad Wise, Brian Benstock's going to be there, Scott Simons, Liza Myers-Borges, and just a bunch of heavy hitters. I should have reached out to Alex, man. We should have had Alex on there too. Maybe we'll have to grab him at some point. But yeah, we're just going to get together because it's so important. You know, this concept of mastermind, it was really written and described like clearly in the book Think and Grow Rich. He breaks down just how important it is. And, in that book, these guys like Henry Ford and Andrew Carnegie and Thomas Edison and all these guys, they would come together, and ultimately it's like a battery, right? One battery has so much juice, but you start stacking batteries together and you can power bigger and bigger things. And that's the same thing that happens with minds, man. You get great minds together in a room and the juice just stacks one on top of another. So excited to share all those humans with people next week and just really dive into some conversations.
Starts Monday, right?
Starts Monday morning.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
5:30 a.m. Awesome stuff. Thank you so much for joining us, man. For
Yeah,
hanging
thanks
with
for
us.
coming, buddy.
Yeah, of course, man. Thanks for having me. It's
So
awesome.
sharp today, man. As
Thank you,
always.
buddy.
I'm gonna
I
step
know,
my
man. I
game
feel
up, man.
so underdressed today,
Ah,
especially between
Special
Brett and
project.
Alex.
special project.
Hey, man, can we start over? This isn't live, right? This is pre-recorded.
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Good.
Well, awesome, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and we'll see you guys next week, next Thursday, Auto Dealer Live.
Thank you.